The man was on the verge of freezing to death, yet he stripped off every piece of clothing and curled up naked in the snow. His teeth chattered uncontrollably. He tried blowing warm air into his palms, but it did nothing. Before long, his whole body was shaking violently. Still, he refused to put his clothes back on. Instead, he stared at the plastic bag in his hands and made a desperate decision. He dumped out the flour inside, packed it full of snow, and pressed it tightly against his chest. Night fell quickly, and the snow showed no sign of melting. To make things worse, his clothes were still soaking wet. The emotions he had been holding back finally broke loose. He screamed at the top of his lungs, raging against the cruelty of his fate. Just at that moment, he spotted what looked like a villa near the top of the mountain. The man leapt to his feet with a surge of joy. To hold on to whatever warmth he had left, he forced himself to put his wet clothes back on. That night, he curled up in a crack between the rocks and drifted off to sleep. By the third morning, he finally managed to get clean water. Even better, both his phone and his radio still worked. It seemed like things were finally turning around. Full of hope, he pushed toward the summit, but hunger and exhaustion kept hitting him in waves, and his vision began to blur. The hunger was overwhelming. He had nothing left but instinct driving him forward. By the time he dragged himself to the top, he was completely broken. The villa he had seen the night before was nothing more than a hallucination born out of despair. He stumbled and collapsed, every last bit of will to survive draining out of him. When he came to again, it was already the morning of the fourth day. He tried to stand and fell again. A sharp, searing pain shot through his right leg. He pulled up his pant leg to find his sock soaked through with blood, his calf swollen and bruised a deep purple. He knew he couldn't wait. He had to deal with the wound right then and there. He clenched his teeth and ripped the sock off. The wound tore open instantly, and a wave of agonizing pain crashed over his entire body. There was no time to hesitate. He tore away a piece of dead flesh and forced himself to swallow it, fighting back the urge to be sick. After a brief rest, he pushed on. Then suddenly, the roar of a helicopter thundered overhead. It was the search and rescue team looking for him. He shouted with everything he had, but the crew was too far away to hear a thing. He scrambled to turn on his radio, hoping they'd pick up a signal, but it was no use. All he could do was watch helplessly as the helicopter disappeared into the distance. In that moment of total despair, he thought of his mother. If he died out here, what would become of her? That thought alone kept him going until the 8th day. He refused to die there, so he summoned every last ounce of strength and clawed his way toward the summit. But just as he was about to reach the top, he collapsed from sheer exhaustion. He lay there for who knows how long before slowly coming around. The radio still had no signal and was nearly dead, but he didn't panic. Instead, he calmly spoke his final words. He took one last look at the snow-blanketed peaks, ready to accept whatever came next. And then, the radio crackled to life. After 8 days trapped on that snow-covered mountain, he was finally rescued. When hope has been reduced to almost nothing, would you still keep going? Follow me for a different movie story every day.